So you're in the attic, hand over your mouth because the dust tastes like old paper and almonds, and a box you didn't mean to kick has spilled its guts. Unlabeled VHS tapes slide like dark bricks across the plywood. One has a crooked sticker. Play last. There's a note tucked in the first sleeve, thin as a secret. If you watch, follow the order. Downstairs, the house waits for an estate sale and a deadline. You could keep packing, or you could press play. You choose. The TV hums to life, and the note's last line lingers. You'll hear things meant for one of you. We've been here 3 days, and the walls already feel thinner than our patience. Lena, sleeves rolled, keeps her grief like a folded napkin in her pocket. Ava, 17 and sharp, has her phone flashlight cutting through corners. Milo, 14, drags a bin and mutters to himself about retro treasure. Uncle Raj sits cross-legged on the hallway runner downstairs, sorting papers into piles labeled taxes, certificates, and keep because it smells like her. We're selling the house at the end of the month. The offer is decent. The bills don't wait. Duty does what it does. It makes time feel like it belongs to someone else. The attic is a low triangle where heat gathers and the stapled insulation whispers when you move. The tapes look ordinary. Ordinary is almost cruel. Lena turns the first one over like a stone at the creek. No date, no title, just the stubborn weight of plastic. The VCR came from a thrift store run. Raj swore he saw one in the garage, but it was a bread maker with a broken timer. We jerry-rig the cables to a TV that still remembers Channel 3. And when the screen blooms gray, everyone stops pretending we're only here to pack. Static, a jump, the automatic blue screen, and then her face. Grandmother sits at the kitchen table in this same house, light from the window striped across her forearms. She says the date carefully, as if letters might cut. Then she says, "I'm sorry." No one breathes. She doesn't look sick in the video. She looks decided. The camera's on a tripod. We can hear the refrigerator hum, the ticking wall clock that used to rush Sunday dinners. She apologizes again, this time to names we don't recognize. Lena leans forward, knuckles white. Milo glances at Ava, and Ava glances at the play last tape as if it's listening. "We don't have time for this," Raj says from the attic hatch, voice low, not unkind. He's carrying a box of bank statements that smell like pennies. "We should honor her privacy. This is..." He searches for a word that is not betrayal. "It's our history," Ava answers. "Quick, people don't make tapes like this to be buried twice. The stakes come up like nails in the floorboards. The buyer wants the house cleared by Friday. We owe on 2 credit cards and a car repair, and there's the hospital bill nobody names out loud. The attic is supposed to be a place where things go quietly to sleep. Instead, it offers us a choice with teeth." Lena looks at the calendar taped to the fridge downstairs. She looks at her mother on the screen. She says 1 tape a night. We keep packing while we watch, and if it gets ugly, we stop. On the TV, grandmother's mouth tightens as if refusing a word. She says something about the deed, about a promise held too long. She lifts her hand as if to bless or refuse the camera, and then the tape eats itself for a second. Warble, streak, silence, before it returns to her hands folded like a dare. In the last seconds, a label flashes in the corner as if the camera overlay caught something it shouldn't. 2 names none of us know. The screen goes blue. We sit with it. Attic dust dances in a slow column of warm light. Somewhere below, a bottle clinks against glass in a recycling bin. It is not thunder, but my chest thinks it is. Raj sets his box down and says it again. We should stop. We'll call the lawyer. We'll call I don't know who. Privacy matters. Lena doesn't look at him. She stares at the blank screen like it owes her rent. My mother hid things, she says, not angry, tired. It doesn't make them private. It makes them heavy. And the house feels heavier because we've never named them. One a night. Then we decide. We agree to rules like it's a game that needs boundaries. 1, no watching ahead. 2, keep packing while the tape runs. 3, if someone wants to leave the room, we pause. 4, we don't call anyone until we all agree. Ava writes them on the back of a paper plate with a marker that bleeds. Dinner is leftover stew and silence. We eat at the counter because the table is stacked with photo albums and candle holders that never found their candles. Milo tries for normal. Think there's a wedding video? A treasure map? He shrugs when no one laughs, just asking. The only map is the calendar and the buyer's closing date. Lena washes the bowls, sleeves wet to the elbows, and looks through the window at the porch light clicked on for no one. She says quietly, that apology wasn't for me. I felt it. It went past me, like hearing a conversation in the next room. For a moment, she is a daughter again, startled by her mother's voice. Then she is a mother with 2 kids and a deadline. Back in the attic, we stop trying not to touch the past. There are quilts stored in cedar and a jar of buttons like candy. Dust shadows her cursive on old recipe cards. We find the next tape under a stack of church bulletins, the edges bent. It has a smudge of ink on the spine, like someone pressed it into their palm while thinking. The label is there and not there, 2 letters overlapped like initials made nervous. Ava slides it into the plastic sleeve but doesn't push it into the VCR yet. She reads the note again. If you watch, follow the order, and then flips the paper. On the back, faint pencil. You'll hear things meant for one of you. Which one? Milo asks. No one answers. The attic feels like it's breathing. With us. To keep moving, we carry boxes down. The staircase complains. On the landing, the family photos hang at eye level, the ones we walked past 1,000 times without seeing. Lena pauses at her own school picture, the one with the collar that wouldn't lie down. She touches the glass, then smears the dust away as if making room for what's coming. Night sets in the slow way it does when you're busy and avoid the windows. Raj finds a roll of trash bags and a stack of legal pads. He begins a list: utilities to cancel, donations to schedule, realtor to confirm. The list is a raft on a choppy pond. His pen skates. When he looks up, we're already climbing the stairs again with the second tape. This time, no one makes a case against it. The rule about 1 per night is a compromise and a promise. The house clicks as it cools, and somewhere a far train wants to be noticed. We press play, and before the image even appears, I think I hear our grandmother take a breath. The second label flashes too fast. Names we don't know. Names we might have been. And just like that, the house seems to lean in, as if it has been waiting years for us to sit still long enough to listen. The screen blinks from black to the grainy kitchen none of us remember, the old wallpaper humming with tiny flowers. Grandmother isn't alone. She sits straight-backed at the table, hands folded, and across from her is a stranger who keeps his coat on like he might run. He glances at the camera once, then away, eyes careful. The only sound for a beat is the fridge's tired motor and the distant tick of the hall clock. Tell me in your words, she says, the good and the bad, no performance. The man clears his throat. His voice is soft, the kind that makes people lean in. We said we'd keep it simple. I came because of the deed, and because we agreed you'd be. He stops, looks toward the sink as if someone stands there, then says, custodian. That was the word. Ava hits pause. Did he say deed? And custodian? Lena, what deed? Lena shakes her head. The word sits on her tongue like a coin too cold to swallow. Play it, she says. We do. The tape jitters, the sound dips, and a warning text flickers across the top edge like a ghost of a TV broadcast. Tracking. Do not rewind. Then it vanishes. The man leans forward, elbows on the table, despite the coat. You said you'd take the weight until they were clear, he says, because they asked you, because no one else would. You promised. He looks at his hands. Grandmother nods once. The motion small but final. I promised, she says. The line stops with me. Lena inhales, sharp. What line? The stranger reaches into his coat pocket and sets a folded paper on the table. It's yellowed at the folds, edges gone soft. He doesn't open it. He taps it with 2 fingers. The deed sits with the bank. This is a copy of the agreement. Custodianship, not ownership. That's what you asked for. For safety. For time. Raj mutters under his breath. Half to paper, half to air. Agreement about what? Property? Child? The last word escapes like it burned. The image wavers. For a second, the man's face lifts and splits into color bands, and when it settles, the audio lags a fraction behind his mouth. He starts to say a name, and the tape stutters, white snow chewing the syllables. Ava rewinds a pinch, then stops herself, eyes on the warning. We can't, she bites her lip. We can't, say it again, grandmother says on screen, voice low. Who asked me? The man's answer is swallowed by the warp. 2 syllables become a scrape. He glances at the camera again, wary now. Look, he says, if this is going to court someday, I want it on record that I asked for less than I was owed. I did what I could. The rest, his hand describes a circle, not quite a wave, was in your hands. You kept it safe. Milo tries to cut the tension with a small laugh that dies on its way out. Safe like a squirrel, he says. A cache, a stash. He makes a little drumbeat on his knees. Lena turns to him, eyes bright and brittle. Not now, she says. The words are soft, the edge isn't. He folds in on himself, cheeks red. Ava rewinds only in her head. The warning crawls back across her face. We're being handled, she says. She points at the edges of the frame. See those tape cuts? It's not just old. Someone edited around names. He, she, they. It's like a puzzle where half the picture is sky. On screen, the stranger looks toward the back door where the light always used to burn a square into the tile at 4 in the afternoon. You do understand, he says, that if anyone asks, the story is that the child, he glances down hard, was placed legally. Clean, no questions. That's what protects everyone. That's what protects you. Grandmother watches him with a patience that isn't kindness. If it was clean, she says, I wouldn't have had to borrow the word custodian. There's a difference between holding and hiding. Lena's breath snags. She presses a palm flat to her chest in a small, private steadying. Raj, find something, she says. Paper, files, anything about a deed. Her voice has changed. It's the voice she used when the nurse didn't come fast enough. Urgent without volume. Raj nods and disappears down the hatch, feet thudding the steps in twos. The man on the tape stands suddenly, the chair legs scraping the floor. Don't rewind, he says, looking directly into the lens for the first time. It's not safe to repeat. You got what you need. You got the dates. He points off camera. The safe, the deposit. You'll, he swallows, hear from me or you won't. Then the tape glitches again. And when the picture returns, he's gone. The back door shows a slice of yard. The wind lifts the curtain like a breath. Silence. Grandmother stays in her chair, hands still, as if someone pressed pause on the room and left. After a moment, she leans toward the camera until her face fills the frame. If you're watching. This, out of order, stop, she says. Follow what I said. If you don't, you'll think the wrong thing about the right people. You'll think it's all about money. It isn't. Her mouth twitches, one corner down. But you will hear something meant for one of you. When you do, you'll know. The tape clicks, and for a heartbeat we see blue, then a smear of color, then a frozen time stamp in the corner that means nothing to us. Ava hits pause. The room exhales. What is custodianship if not legal guardianship? Raj calls from downstairs, voice echoing up. I've got folders, bank slips, a list of safe deposit box numbers with half of them crossed out, and paper rustles, a note in her handwriting. Second basement? With a question mark. Ava and Milo exchange a look. Second basement? How many basements does a single-story house get? Lena rubs her temples. This street flooded twice when I was little. People had storm cellars and called them basements to feel fancy. But second. Ava rewinds 5 seconds, careful not to cross the line, and freezes the frame where the man's hand moves. On the table, beside the folded paper, is a drawn rectangle with an X in one corner, as if someone sketched a room for a child. Beside it, clipped by the frame, are letters that might be SB or 5B. Second basement, Ava says, and her voice has the pleased fear of a riddle solved. Milo peeks over her shoulder. Or seatbelt, he offers, or Santa Barbara. He tries again at levity and fails less. Lena's look softens. Later, she says, the afterlaugh doesn't come. Downstairs, Raj appears at the bottom of the attic ladder with a manila folder raised like a prize. The top page shows the house's floor plan from a long-ago permit. He squints. There's a weird bump on the hallway by the laundry, like someone built over a space. Grandmother's face is still on the TV, paused in mid-breath, as if she might start again if we leave the room. Lena stands, decision settling into her shoulders. We finish this tape, she says. Then we look. No more guesses. No more arguing with ghosts. We unpause. Grandmother sits back, the moment of intensity gone. She lifts a glass of water with both hands. If you chose to watch tonight, she says, you'll want to run, do the dishes, fold towels, anything but listen. But you need to hear me say I kept what wasn't mine because they asked me and I believed them. I believed the fire would pass and the names would be safe on the other side. Her eyes flick toward the window, the same light stripe on her forearms. Then the picture bows inward as if the whole screen takes a breath and lets it go, and the recording ends in a thump that might be her palm on the camera or the tape reaching its edge. We stare at the blue screen like it might blink. The attic smells like hot dust and cedar and something else, something older. The word custodian hangs between us like a lantern with a weak battery. Raj holds up the floor plan again. Second basement, he repeats. Lena nods once. We don't talk about stopping. We talk about stairs. We talk about the laundry hallway and the wall that never made sense and the way secrets sometimes need a shape to sit in. Then we go down, one at a time, leaving the TV humming, leaving her face paused mid-thought, carrying the word deed like a small, heavy thing you can't put back where you found it. We start in the laundry hallway because the floor plan says the answer is here. The hall is short, too short, a stub with a cabinet that always stuck in summer. Lena runs her palm along the wall like she's checking a fever. The paint is the same beige as every argument we never finished. Ava holds the lamp high. Milo's on his knees, knocking drywall with two knuckles, listening for hollow. Raj flips through the permit copy, pencil between his teeth. Hold on, he says, squinting at the little bump out. This jog shouldn't exist. On the drawing, the hallway extends another 3 feet before the turn. They built over something. Ava crouches by the baseboard, following a seam with her fingertip. The trim doesn't meet flush. There's a shadow line, barely there, like a healed scar. She pries gently with the screwdriver from the junk drawer. The wood resists, then gives with a sigh. A thin flutter falls from behind it. Milo snags it before it hits the floor. It's masking tape folded on itself, the kind that leaves its ghost behind. Stuck inside the back of the trim is a small brass key, tarnish greening the grooves. A date is scratched on the metal with something sharp. 07-18. No year. The numbers are shallow, a nervous hand. Lena takes it and feels the weight as if that could tell her what it unlocks. It's not for any interior door, Raj says. Too old for the front. Pantry, attic trunks. Ava is already trying it on, everything within reach like a child with a charm bracelet. It doesn't fit the laundry cabinet. It doesn't fit the back door. The toothpaste tube sigh we all make at once feels practiced. Check hinges, Milo says, surprising himself. Old houses hide in plain sight. He taps along the hallway again. Slower now. His knuckles tell him when he hits studs, when he hits nothing, when he hits something pretending to be nothing. Here. He points at a section where the sound goes dull and then hollow again, painted over. He presses his ear to it. It's colder than the rest. Raj runs his nail along the paint and finds a thin ridge squared off like a frame. He fetches a blade from the toolbox and scores the seam. The first peel comes grudgingly, then a strip of latex rolls like skin. Underneath is a rectangle, the faint outline of a panel. The screws at the corners are painted into place, like someone hoped art could make them forget. He sets the blade aside and takes a screwdriver to the top left. It turns with the gritty complaint of 2 decades. Ava holds her breath without meaning to. Lena touches the wall as if asking permission. On 3, Raj says, we always use 3 like a prayer. 1, 2, and the panel comes away in his hands, stiff with dried paint. Behind it, there's not a room. There's a shallow niche lined with old insulation, and tucked in like a nest is a gray metal box the size of a library book, edges rounded, latch closed with a simple push tab. Not a secret door, Milo whispers. A glove compartment in a wall. Lena reaches in, careful of the itchy pink fibers. She lifts the box out and sets it on the washer. We stand around it without touching the latch. The key might fit, Ava says. The keyhole is small and off-center, the kind that suggests stubbornness. Lena slides the brass key in. It seats with a click that sounds less like victory than permission. She looks at us, then turns it. The latch loosens. The lid lifts on a hinge, grudging. Inside, there isn't cash, no jewels. There are photographs, soft at the corners, tucked into a ribbon like old letters. On top, 2 hospital wristbands, plastic clouded with time. Each band has a last name and a date, but the first names are blurred where skin once pressed the ink. Between them lies a legal envelope with a red string closure, seal intact, her mother's neat script on the front. To be opened with courage, not curiosity. Ava's breath shivers. The smell rises. A mixture of paper, antiseptic, and cedar. Milo picks up one photo and flips it, then replaces it as if it might bite. The picture shows a child in a knitted cap, one eye squeezed shut, a mouth like someone about to yawn. A hand we recognize holds the baby, only the wrist and thumb in frame, a tiny burn scar near the pulse. Lena touches her own skin at the same spot without noticing. "We should open the envelope," Raj says, voice low. "We need whatever's in there. There's a closing date, there's a bank, there's only so much time to be noble." Ava shakes her head before Lena answers. The note said, "Follow the order. If we skip ahead, we'll make meaning where there isn't any. We already do that for a living." Her eyes shine not with tears, with stubborn light. Lena looks at the word courage. She reads it twice like it might change. "Not yet," she says. "We have another tape. Let it tell us how to swallow this." Milo, restless, opens the lid all the way and brushes aside the photos. Beneath them, an index card labeled in pencil. "Weigh the cost." His fingers tremble. He lifts the wristbands and holds them side by side. The dates match, the time stamps 2 hours apart. That feels like a riddle designed to wound. Ava lays the photographs out in a row on the washer's cool enamel. They show the same child at different hours, under a warmer light, swaddled in a blanket with ducks, in a plastic bassinet with a card that reads, "Girl." Then the next card that reads, "Boy." The camera catches a clock on one wall. The hands don't move between shots. It's a trick of angles, a trick of survival, a trick of the truth. Lena has gone quiet in a way that makes sound nervous. She lifts the legal envelope and feels the heft. The seal's unbroken. The string wraps 3 times. She slides a thumb under the knot and stops. "Not yet," she repeats. Then she sets it back and closes the metal box gently, as if the pictures could bruise. We carry the niche's contents to the kitchen table because standing in the hallway feels like reading mail in a closet. The table has a ring where a plant used to sit. We make a small museum, the box, the photos in order, the wristbands, the envelope. In the center, the key points north like a patient needle. Raj takes a picture of the arrangement with his phone, then puts the phone face down as if that could keep the internet from barging in. He pulls the permit again, making sure we didn't imagine the bump out. It's there, stamped in blue, approved by someone who didn't ask why. Ava sets her jaw. "Tape 3, she says. The label on its spine reads, "In our grandmother's hand, for the night you need courage." The coincidence hardly bothers to hide. Milo rolls his shoulders like before a game. "I'll make popcorn," he offers, because ritual feels like control. Lena nods. "Make it. Salt heavy. No butter." It's the smallest decision that feels like choosing to be human. While he microwaves the bag, the hallway panel leans against the wall like a door that refused a job. The niche gapes, insulation fluffy and pink, a cavity in the house's chest. The washer hums with old nerves. Ava touches the edge of the opened space and murmurs, not a prayer, not a curse, just a sound that says, "We see you." We return to the living room where the VCR waits, its green digits stubborn as crickets. Tape 2 is rewound and boxed. Tape 3 sits on the coffee table, a patient threat. Lena lifts it. Her thumb finds a faint indentation near the label, as if someone pressed the numbers of a phone into it long ago. For courage, she reads again, softer. We don't open the envelope. We press play. The house settles around us like an animal circling before it lies down. Somewhere outside, a car door closes. None of our business. On the screen, the blue relents and the kitchen appears under different daylight. Grandmother sits with a map, and the pens beside her cast sharp shadows. The music in my chest changes key. No one speaks. We're past commentary. We're in it now. We've touched the house's hidden pocket and found it full of baby bands and choices we don't yet know how to name. The world outside keeps doing what it does. Neighbors, traffic, a flag leaning into wind. Inside, the floor plan has acquired a door that doesn't open to a room, only to a box that opens to a story. We lean forward. Courage, she wrote. So we listen. The map on the table is creased from old folds and coffee rings, the kind you get from a mug set down when a phone rings. Grandmother has drawn lines in two colors, red for a street we partly know, blue for one that doesn't show up anymore. She taps the blue with the cap of her pen. 2 families, she says, and names them in a voice the tape refuses to keep. The audio shivers right where the names should live, like a breath across a microphone. Lena leans forward, chin in her palm. "Where is that?" she whispers. "Where were you standing when you picked which line to follow?" Grandmother slides a finger along the red street, then stops at an intersection that has no label now. The map's legend is torn. "You'll look for proof and find holes," she says. "You'll think that means nothing happened. It means someone cleared the table after the meal and hoped the crumbs would tell no story." A siren moans somewhere far in the recording, thin and tired. She pauses at the sound, glances toward the window like memory knocked. The date on the bottom right corner of the frame is the same as the faded news clipping on our fridge from years ago, the one about the fire at the old mill. Milo catches it first. "That week," he says, pointing. "The mill fire." Lena nods once. The map trembles in Grandmother's hands. She picks up a small locket from beside the pens. The metal catches light, dull gold, the hinge worn. She opens it to the camera. The picture inside is a baby, mouth open mid-cry, cheeks round as peaches, eyes squeezed tight. Lena's breath slips, small and involuntary. "That's my baby picture," she says, and the room tilts a degree. Ava blinks hard, looks from the screen to Lena and back, measuring faces like math. Grandmother's voice goes quiet. "I kept what wasn't mine because they asked me," she says. The sentence lands like a nail tapped steady. "Because they asked me, and because I believed them when they said the fire would pass and the paper would burn and the names would be safe. I believed the promise more than I believed my own doubt." She closes the locket. Her thumb has a scar across the knuckle, we know. Raj has his phone pressed to his ear already, desk lamp throwing a circle on the floor. "County Archives," he says into the receiver. "We need property records for that week." The fire week. Pause. The person on the other end must be talking. Raj's jaw tightens. "Missing," he repeats. "The whole week?" He thanks them anyway and hangs up. "The records for that week are gone," he says. "Not digitized, not in boxes, just a shrug where files should be." Grandmother sets the locket back down and returns to the map. 2 families, she says again, and this time we hear the shape of one name through the static, a consonant like a door closing. The pen draws a line between them, a fragile bridge. "I walked this line," she murmurs. "I carried a promise across it, and then I kept walking and never looked down." The tape brightness flickers. Milo chews the inside of his cheek. Are we the wrong branch of our own tree? He asks, half joking, half warning. Ava shoots him a look that's not unkind, just thin. Grandmother lifts a folded slip of paper. It's small, the kind that used to hide in hymnals. If this reaches you, she says, don't go alone to the bank. Her eyes hold steady on the lens. You'll think it's a simple errand. It isn't. And don't take a bargain you don't understand. If there's a line to sign, make sure two hands hold the pen. She places the slip down carefully, as if its corners are sharp. Ava pauses the tape and leans close to the label on the cassette still lying on the table. In the light, scratched so faint we nearly miss it, are four cramped numbers. She tilts the plastic, squints, then whispers them aloud. It's a box number, she says, a safe deposit number. Who scratches that into plastic unless they're hiding it in plain sight? Lena rubs at the locket on screen like she could warm it through time. That map is missing half the street names, she says. They're scraped off or taped over. She presses play. The sirens swell again, closer this time, then fade. Grandmother closes her eyes for a count of 3, then opens them with a look we've seen on Lena's face when she chose a cheaper car repair over a new coat for winter. If you have to choose, she says, choose what you can live with, not what you can explain. The rest of the sentence is swallowed by a hiss. We watch the pen move without sound. Grandmother writes a word in the map's margin, then puts her hand over it like a teacher guarding a test. You'll want it to be about money, she says when the audio returns. Money is neat. Money is measurable. This isn't. She taps twice on the table. If you're at the bank now, remember 2 hands. Raj leans back, fingers pressed to his forehead, then down to his phone again. He dials the clerk for a second time, tries a different department, tries a different voice. He cycles through patience, politeness, pressure, returns with the same answer. Records missing for that week. A laugh escapes him, empty as a mail slot. Convenient, he says, then apologizes to a house that can't accept it. Ava rewinds 3 seconds to catch the movement of Grandmother's thumb over the tape's paper spine when she set it down. She pauses on the label, and there it is, the faint impression we saw earlier blooming into clarity once we look for it. 4 numbers, a small pencil X. It feels like a breadcrumb. It feels like a dare. Milo edges closer to Lena, shoulders almost touching. Do you remember that locket? He asks. Lena shakes her head, eyes still on the screen. I remember the scar on her thumb, she says. I remember her humming when the kettle boiled. I remember the mill fire and the way ash fell soft as moths. But I don't remember this locket. She swallows. I don't remember a second family to be named. Grandmother folds the map once, twice, a slow ritual, then looks past the camera, as if to someone standing to the side. If I did wrong, she says, it was with both hands open. I held too much. I held it because they asked, and because I trusted the people doing the asking more than I trusted the system that would take what they had. I thought I could hold it until the world was kinder. Turns out the world kept its habits. She smiles without humor. If you're angry, be angry at the people who made it impossible to be clean. Lena exhales a sound like a yes that forgot how. She reaches for Ava's hand, and Ava doesn't move it away. Grandmother's last look in this recording arrives like weather. Steady, expectant. If you go to the bank, she repeats, don't go alone. The box number is what it is. You'll know it when you see it. She taps the label once more with her thumb, deliberately, as if to press the numbers through to us. Then the screen blooms white for a second, collapses to blue, and ejects the truth with a mechanical chuff. We sit with the noise of our own breathing. The kettle does not boil. The siren in the recording feels like it got into our walls. Raj slides his chair back. We go tomorrow, he says. First thing, 2 hands, 3, if they'll let us. Lena nods, quiet but decided. We take the map. We take the locket if we can find it. We take courage as requested. She stands, the kind of standing that sets the next hour. Ava picks up the tape, holds it by its edges like a small, fragile animal. On the label, the 4 numbers shine plain now that we know to see them. We turn off the TV. The room goes back to itself, but not the same self as an hour ago. The house creaks once, as if adjusting to a new story in its frame. Upstairs, the niche in the wall waits, the envelope sealed, the words not yet read. Tonight, we sleep near our phones, near our questions, near a plan we didn't expect to make. Tomorrow, the bank. 2 hands on the pen, and the hope that the box opens to something we can live with. The bank opens at 9, but we're there early enough to watch the blinds unlock one by one. A bell over the door gives a polite chime that feels wrong for the kind of morning it is. Lena carries a tote with the map folded flat, the locket we found wedged in the silverware drawer, and a copy of the number Ava read off the tape's label. Raj has his practical voice on. Ava keeps the tote strap in a tight fist. Milo stares at the floor tiles and counts them like a spell. We approach the counter and ask for safe deposit access. The clerk smiles with the practiced warmth of someone trained to deflect panic. Box number? Lena reads it softly. The clerk types, frowns, then nods. Yes, that exists. Her eyes flick to Lena's face, then to Raj, then to the tote. 2 authorized signatures required, she says, like reading a weather report. We'll need both account holders present. Lena's mouth tightens, then loosens. Who's the second? The clerk checks a screen we can't see. She reads the name as if it's routine. The second is listed as Marisol. No last name in the visible field. A note. See manager. The note lands heavier than it sounds. The manager arrives with a key and a careful smile. He leads us to a small room with a laminate table that wants to be wood. We sit. He places his palms flat like an oath. I can't share details beyond what the screen allows, he says, but I can say the cosigner appears as Marisol. Records show periodic access notes, most of them years ago. We require both signatures to open the box. Ava leans forward. Does it list a phone number? An address? The manager apologizes with his eyes. You'll need a court order for contact details. Raj, already flicking through options, asks, what if one party is deceased? The manager's look is practiced neutrality. Then we require documentation of death or a legal order. I'm sorry. We step outside to the strip of winter sun and stand in it like people who don't want to leave the door. Who is Marisol? Milo asks. The name floats above us like a kite we can't reel in. Lena shakes her head. She doesn't recognize it, not as a neighbor, not as a church name, not as someone from work. Ava is already searching. She hands her phone to Raj. A dozen results rise, then tangle. 2 obituaries with the same middle initial, different towns. 1 birth year that makes her too young, 1 that fits too neatly. A social media page with no photos. A fundraiser attached to a cause that could be anyone's cause. The data spreads out and refuses to be a person. Back inside, we ask if Lena can at least verify the signature on file. The manager considers, then slides a folded card across the table, certain sections covered with paper. Your mother's name appears here, he says. The second signature is on the right. You can't photograph this, you can't copy it. You may look. Lena leans in and sees the curve of her mother's name, familiar and precise, and beside it, a signature she doesn't know. The baseline drifts a little high at the end, as if the person signed standing up. Ava exhales, a thin sound. Are we the wrong branch of our own tree? The line has waited since last night. Lena doesn't answer. She presses her thumb to the table to keep her hand from shaking on the paper. The manager recovers the card and slides it back. If you locate Marisol, he says gently, bring her with you. If not, we can discuss other legal avenues. He stands, signaling the end of official help. Yet, as he escorts us to the vault area, he lowers his voice. There is a box. It's been quiet for some time. Sometimes items are held in trust for reasons that made sense at the time. He unlocks a gate and nods at a corridor we aren't allowed to walk yet. Each door looks like a promise with a lock. We leave with a choice that isn't really a choice. The house sale clock runs in one ear. The mystery runs in the other. On the sidewalk, Lena decides, we delay the listing documents for a week. We can push back the final signature on the sale. Raj rubs a hand over his face. That costs. Lena nods. So does guessing wrong. At the diner 3 blocks away, we claim a booth. The coffee tastes like forgiveness and old grounds. Ava has her laptop open, the cursor blinking like a metronome. She tries combinations of Marisol with our town, with the mill fire, with the year of the locket faded into the plastic. Search results scatter like startled birds. None land where we need them. Milo scrolls on his phone and pauses on a community memorial page full of candles and hands. A comment thread mentions a Marisol who used to sing at the church on Elm, then moved, then returned to help after the fire. Half the comments are rumors, half are prayers. The page owner hasn't posted in years. He messages anyway, no reply. We shuffle back to the house because action needs a place to sit. In the living room, the map lies open again. The locket sits beside it. The note about 2 hands echoes even when the TV is off. Ava shuts her laptop and looks at Lena. We could make noise, she says. Post about what we found. See who comes out of the woodwork. Lena shakes her head, sharp and immediate. No, not yet. The tape said, follow the order. We keep this small until we can carry it. Raj balances the cost in one palm and the truth in the other, and his face says neither weighs less for long. He dials a few numbers from his old client files, people who know records, people who remember who kept boxes and who held keys. The answers are fragments. Someone thinks they knew a Marisol who worked at a clinic years ago. Someone else remembers a woman by that name who moved away and sent back a locket when her mother died. Threads, no fabric. Ava's frustration blooms into accusation, not mean, just raw. Were we ever going to know any of this? She asks Lena. Or were we supposed to sell the house, ship the tapes to a thrift store, and let someone else find our beginning? Lena keeps her voice even. I didn't know to know. That's the worst part. I didn't even know the question. When the blue hour starts to lean through the windows, we return to our ritual. The tapes sit on the coffee table like a row of small doors. Tape 4 doesn't have a label beyond the number stamped by a manufacturer who never imagined it would matter. We slot it in, the adapter from the bank box, no, from the letter that said, return what's promised, rests near the VCR. Raj turns it over. It's a simple-looking piece, plastic and wire, the kind of thing you'd disregard in a junk drawer. A tiny switch on its side makes a hesitant click. We press play. The kitchen fills the frame again. Grandmother's face appears in profile as if we're late and she's been waiting. The audio is thin, the high hiss of old tape. For a moment, it's only her, breathing. Then a second layer unfurls under the first, like a voice stepping out from behind a curtain. It's male, rougher, recorded at a different time, riding the same reel like a hidden track you only hear with special equipment. We would have missed it without the adapter. The voice says, "You'll be tempted to choose money. Don't." Ava freezes. Did you hear that? The male voice continues, not in sync with grandmother's mouth, a guided ghost. Use the key at the first family place we left empty. He lists 3 places without saying names, but the clues are plain enough for anyone who grew up here. A church basement with a door that sticks, a diner with a back office where the calendar stopped, a school boarded up after the flood. We look at each other and start with the closest. The school's chain link gate sags. The keyhole swallows the key and refuses it. At the church, the old basement lock has been replaced, new brass that sneers at old secrets. At the diner, we circle the building and find the back office door. Lena slides the brass key into the lock, whose paint remembers our grandmother's fingerprints. It fits. It turns. The room smells like dust and promises. On the desk sits a ledger, leather cracked, and beneath it a manila envelope with the rubber clasp. Inside are 2 birth certificates with the top halves visible, names covered by a carefully placed receipt. We stare at the edges of our own story. The ledger's first page lists deposits, monthly and neat, into a trust under a name Lena hasn't used since she was small. The handwriting looks like someone trying very hard not to shake. The male voice from the tape echoes in our heads as if it rode with us. Return what's promised. We bring the ledger home and lay it beside the map. The numbers blink like coordinates. The trust fund exists. It could save the sale crisis with one signature. The other half of the story sits under a receipt we haven't moved yet. We don't touch it, not without the next tape telling us how to hold it. We don't sleep. The adapter sits on the coffee table like a small lie we finally learned how to hear. Lena flips the tiny switch again just to feel the click decide something. Ava rewinds tape 4 to the start and lines up the counter with the precision she saves for exams. Milo brings the ledger from the diner and a notepad to track anything that sounds like a direction. Raj pulls the curtains as if the street could eavesdrop. When the picture warms and our grandmother comes into focus, we lower the volume until her breath is a ghost of sound. Then Ava nudges the adapter's gain, and the second voice rises under the first. It doesn't match her mouth. It's a guide writing beneath her like sheet music, annotated by a different hand. You'll be tempted to choose money, the male voice says again, steady and close to the mic. Don't. The word lands like a palm pressed flat. Grandmother speaks over him about errands, about flour, about nothing that matters, a diversion. Underneath, the man continues. If you're not alone, good. If you are, stop. Use the key. First family place we left empty. He lets the silence stretch, then adds, there were 3. The church with the stubborn door. The diner office where time stopped. The school with the boarded windows. We pause. We've already tried all 3 and only one. Opened. Ava notes it anyway, writes, diner where charge and key fits. Ledger, 2 certs. Leave receipt. She draws a square around leave receipt as if eyes alone could promise restraint. The man's tone shifts, softer. If you found the ledger, you found the pattern. Monthly. Never miss the first week. If you listen to me, you won't pull the paper that covers the names. Not yet. He pauses, a breath we can hear scrape the mic. Trust is a bridge you walk once. Milo clears his throat, so he knew exactly where we'd be. Or he hoped we'd be people who follow instructions. Ava doesn't look away from the counter. He built a maze with good signage, she says. Grandmother reaches for a mug and hums a bar we half recognize. The male voice threads through it. At the bank, bring 2 hands. If they ask for Marisol, you wait. You do not forge. You do not plead. You wait. She knows what this is. If she's gone, you get help that isn't paid by the hour. He lets out a short laugh with no humor. The county lost a week on purpose. Raj lifts his chin at that. Lost implies someone had it. He writes, records missing, accidents, not an accident. Grandmother looks at the camera and smiles like a hostess. The man ignores that smile. The first family place we left empty, he repeats, and the image jitters like the edit point has weight. We decided emptiness was safer than company. Less to explain, less to name. Lena leans in. Who are you to her? The room doesn't answer. The voice continues. If the diner opened for you, check the back wall and the bottom drawer. Second, false bottom. The ledger is the first truth. The letter you think is missing isn't. It's where you'd store pens. Don't force it. Slide your fingers under the lip and lift slow. We stop the tape the way people stop a car when an animal darts out. We didn't check a false bottom. We didn't check anything but what sat obvious. Lena stands, already moving. Ava hits pause on the VCR and scribbles a timestamp. U0.1342, Jackert false bottom. We take the drive back to the diner office with a speed that doesn't break laws but insults them. The back door sticks like before, then gives. The office still smells like dust and old coffee. Lena kneels at the desk, runs her fingers along the seam of the bottom drawer, and finds the lip the voice promised. She slides her hand under and lifts. The drawer's floor rises a half inch, then more, revealing a shallow compartment thin as a book. Inside, a small cassette in a clear case, unlabeled. Next to it, a folded sheet of paper with 3 words in neat block letters. Return what's promised. Milo whispers. Same phrase as the letter. Ava pockets the cassette like it might evaporate in air. Lena folds the note and places it with the ledger as if the words weigh something. Back home, we set the new cassette beside the VCR. It's a microcassette, useless without the adapter's second slot we hadn't noticed before. Raj flips the adapter over. 2 ports, of course. He slides the small tape in. We rewind the VHS to the moment just after the false bottom instruction and press play on both. The room fills with a careful tangle. Grandmother's hum, the male voice. A third layer now, crisp and clipped, recorded in a different place, echo tucked into corners. If you hear me, you found the drawer, the third voice says, older than the male with a sanded edge. You found the word promised. Good. It means you're the right ones or you're nosy. Either way, here we go. Ava's eyes flick. 3 voices. Milo writes, G, Zeshirk's grandmother, M, Zeshirk's male, X, new voice. X continues, we kept 2 promises and broke 1. The trust is 1 promise. The custody is the other. The broken one is the silence we hoped would hold. He inhales. You will think this is about a switch at birth or a movie plot with tidy guilt. It isn't. It's about a fire and a form and a child who needed 2 families for a while because neither had enough paper to be allowed to keep her whole. Lena's hand finds the table, fingers spread. She doesn't look away from the TV. "What did you do?" she asks the air. M speaks, softer now, as if X has moved aside to let him. "You'll get a call you don't recognize. If the melody hums in the background, say yes. If it doesn't, hang up. Don't leave a trail in writing. They'll lose more weeks." Grandmother on screen pours water and sets the kettle on the burner we replaced last winter. Her mouth shapes a silent sorry we've already heard and still can't hold without flinching. X resumes. "Use the key at the place we left empty first, then the church, then the school. Order matters because each holds context for the next. At the church, you won't find a room. You'll find a ledger's mirror. Outflows matching inflows, the care that went back. At the school, you'll find nothing useful except a nail hole at the right height on the right wall. That hole will tell you which office used to hold which desk. That matters when you read what you'll read soon." M says, "When you face the choice, remember the weight isn't in the paper. It's in who sleeps after." Ava pauses and breathes through her nose. If this is a map, it covers years in 9 square inches. Raj rubs his thumb over the microcassette's plastic, listening like he used to listen to clients when they were about to say the thing that changed the case. We hit play again. X delivers a final instruction. If the ledger lists deposits to the trust under the name you know, look for 1 month where the number spikes. That's the month the custody changed hands on paper, even if life didn't. We moved ink, not a child. The system needed ink. M's last line arrives like a hand on a shoulder. You'll be tempted to choose money. Don't. Return what's promised. The kettle on screen whistles. Grandmother looks toward it and says to no one we can see, "They'll either do this right or they won't." Then she smiles at the lens like a truce. We stop everything. The room is suddenly too quiet. We pull the ledger close and run our fingers down the neat column of numbers. Deposit amounts steady, steady, steady. Then 1 month doubles. Not a windfall, a correction. Lena marks it with a pencil and circles the date. The same month, the mill fire ate a week. The same month, the hospital bands were printed 2 hours apart. Milo swallows. Are we going back out? Ava nods. Church next, then the school to find a nail hole. She says it without sarcasm. The open mystery is a map. We walk it. Lena picks up the key, the adapter, the microcassette. Her face holds that careful mix of resolve and fear people carry into waiting rooms. She looks at us. "We follow the order," she says. "We return what's promised, and we don't touch the receipt hiding the names until the tapes say our hands are steady enough to hold them. We lay everything out like a case file we never asked to build." The ledger opened to the month that doubled, the 2 hospital bands, cloudy and tender. The locket, the note that says, "Return what's promised." Outside, the afternoon thins. Inside, the air feels like it's waiting for our answer. Here's the thing. The trust could fix the sale panic. It could clear the credit cards, buy time, keep the house from leaving our hands before we decide if we want it to. But every path to that fix runs through a word that keeps showing up. Custody. Money at the top of the page, someone's name at the bottom. We can't pretend one isn't stapled to the other. Tape 5 waits on the table. No label beyond the number, but the plastic smudged like it spent time in a pocket. Ava slips the adapter into place as if it might bite back. We sit closer than the couch allows, knees bumping, shoulders touching. Lena presses play. The screen opens on the kitchen again, but it's a different hour. Morning light, steam from a kettle. Grandmother's hands rest flat on the table, palms down, as if pinning a paper in wind. Her eyes are red. When she speaks, the words come slow, arranged with care. She can barely keep steady. I split one baby into two families, she says. The sentence lands and the room shifts around it. Milo swears without heat. Raj's pen stops in midair and doesn't lower. Ava's breath catches and stays. Grandmother keeps going. I did it because a mother asked me, and because another mother needed me, and because there was a fire inside the system that burned names when it should have kept them. She swallows. I held the line for a while. Then I held it longer than I should have. I am sorry. We wait for context that doesn't come fast enough. Who asked? Why? Where did the second go? The tape offers only fragments. The male voice doesn't appear under this one. The third voice, the sanded one, is absent. It's just her and a weight that throbs. Ava's fingers dig into the cushion. Publish the truth, she says, quiet but fierce. Online. Today. We show the bands, the ledger, the map, with the erased names. Someone will answer. Someone will know Marisol. We stop being polite with ghosts and start asking the living. Raj turns to her, calm, pulled tight. And if we accuse people we don't know of changing a child's fate without due process, if we say custody in the same sentence as split and baby, and a half dozen folks pull their lawyers out of drawers, if Lena's name ends up on a document request before we understand which line points to her, she looks like she wants to argue. She doesn't. She knows he's right. The moral cost is unclear because the facts are fogged on purpose. On screen, Grandmother reaches for something out of frame and brings back a small notebook. She opens to a page where numbers live beside initials. If you found the trust, you found the record of my pen, she says. That money was never mine. It was a bridge, and bridges cost to build. The trust will try to pretend it's free. It isn't. It belongs with the name it promised to carry. Return what's promised. Her voice breaks on promised, and she lets it. She wipes her eyes with the heel of her hand in a gesture Lena repeats without noticing. The camera stutters. When it steadies, her mouth is tight, like when she found ash on the porch railing after the mill burned. She taps the page with a fingernail. I can't write the names here because I promised a different promise out loud. If you waited for play last, you'll have them. If you didn't, you'll hurt somebody who doesn't deserve it. 2 days, Raj reads from the ledger margin where someone, her, scribbled, tape last session's names. The date sits like a dare, 2 days away. Lena has to decide whether to stall the sale documents again. Every delay feels like taking a breath underwater. Lena reaches for the letter we found in the drawer under the false bottom. A phone number in blocky digits, no name. She dials and leaves a message without saying who she is. I have something that might be yours, she says. It's tied to a trust and a custody transfer. Call if you know what I mean. She hangs up and looks smaller for a second, then pulls herself back to size. We keep watching. Grandmother's voice softens until we lean in to hear it. If you chose money, you'll lose sleep, she says. If you chose custody without consent, you'll lose something you can't name. If you chose truth without patience, you'll set fire to a room that already burned. She opens her mouth to say one more thing, then closes it. Instead, she hums 2 bars of the melody we've started to hate for how much it knows us. The tape ends on a click that sounds like a door closing down a hall. The TV throws blue. We sit in the reflection like people in a waiting room who've just been told to come back Monday. Ava stands and paces. We can't just wait for a stranger named Marisol to stroll into a bank. We can't just hope Play Last gives us names clean enough to hold without bleeding. We need to move Milo, who's been quiet long enough to worry us, says Lowe. I'm afraid if we pull on any more threads, the only home that felt safe for me gets sold to pay for the mess someone left in a drawer. He doesn't look at anyone when he says it. He doesn't need to. It's the sentence at the bottom of all of this. Lena puts a hand on the ledger, palm flat like her mother's on the screen. The trust could save us, she says. But if it was built to carry someone else's name, taking it is stealing with a better story. She inhales. We delay the sale again. One more week. I'll eat the fee. We hold until Play Last. Then we choose with more light. Raj nods, relief and anxiety tied in the same knot. I'll call the realtor. I'll push the closing meeting. He stands and steps into the kitchen because saying it into a phone is easier when you can look at the sink. The house phone rings before his cell connects. An unknown number. We stare at it like it might explode. Lena answers, "Hello." Static first, then a thin humming, the exact melody from the kettle scenes. Not loud, not showy. A human hum. It lasts 3 bars, then a voice barely above a whisper. "You called," it says. "You have something that was promised." Lena closes her eyes. She hums the next bar back because the tapes told her how to answer. The line clicks and fills with a silence that isn't empty. Then the voice says, 2 days. Wait for the last tape. Don't open the envelope. Don't touch the receipt on the birth records. If you can live with your breath for 2 nights, I'll knock. The call ends. No number to redial. No name. Just that melody living in our walls again. We gather around the table like a huddle before a difficult play. The house is half packed, boxes labeled kitchen and linens and winter coats we won't need if we move somewhere without seasons. Hope feels frayed. Nerves feel thin. But the path is laid. Wait for Play Last. Hold the envelope. Don't lift the receipt. Ava picks up the pen and writes across the top of a clean page, 2 days, underline. She looks at Lena. When the names come, we don't publish without consent, she says, as if swearing to a code. We call. We meet. We hand over what's promised, even if it costs. Lena nods. Her hand shakes once, then steadies. We'll carry the weight we were given, she says, not the weight we're tempted to choose. Morning comes soft and unhelpful. We gather before the TV with the envelope still sealed and the receipt still covering the names in the diner papers, like we promised. The Play Last tape feels heavier than plastic should. Lena slides it in. The screen warms. Our grandmother's kitchen appears under a calm morning light, coffee steam lifting in thin threads. She sets 2 envelopes on the table, edges aligned, hands steady. If you're here, she says, you followed the order. Good. Now you have to choose. Her voice has no tremor, only wear. One envelope holds the trust. One holds custody. The child who stays will carry the weight. The other walks free. A chill passes the room. Ava leans forward. We could open both, she whispers. We could refuse her rules. Grandmother tilts her head on screen as if she heard across time. If you break the rule, you break the promise. Choose one. Live with it. Raj pulls a quarter from his pocket, glaring at the absurdity. Flip? He flicks it into the air, then catches it, palm hovering closed. Milo whispers, Don't. He's right. Chance doesn't get to write our names. Ava stiffens. Wait. That melody. Grandmother's kettle isn't on, but she hums a tune low in her throat, the same lullaby that lives in Lena's earliest memory. Lena's eyes fill. That's the song, she says. It's not just a test, it's a hand on our shoulder. Grandmother nudges the envelopes closer. If you know the melody, ask yourself why. If you don't, choose what harms least. She folds her hands and waits. Lena reaches, then stops. She breathes once, twice. She takes the envelope marked custody. Her fingers slide under the flap. Inside, a notarized guardianship transfer, official and stark. Names are redacted with neat black bars. In the margin, a thin, penciled note. Ask the one who hummed. The screen holds on her face, then brightens as if the tape itself takes a breath. She smiles, small and unguarded. Return what's promised. Don't be cruel with truth. Be exact. She lifts her gaze past the camera. A doorbell chimes, clear and bright, not the tone this house has ever made. We glance at each other. On screen, she says, "You'll know that sound when you need it." The picture fuzzes, steadies, then cuts to blue. We sit without moving. The TV hums like a held breath. As if on cue, downstairs our real bell rings once, not our tone. A single, unfamiliar chime that hangs in the air like a question. Lena stands in a slow, sure motion. She hums the melody back, the same two bars our grandmother loved. From the other side of the door, a figure answers with the next notes, low and steady. The sound threads through wood and years. We gather in the hall. The house smells like dust and coffee and rain that hasn't fallen yet. Ava's hand finds Milo's sleeve. Raj pockets the quarter as if fate needs to be put away. The envelopes sit on the table behind us. Trust unopened, custody chosen, names still hidden under a thin sheet we've promised not to lift alone. Lena reaches for the knob, then pauses. History on one side, peace on the other. She looks at us, eyes bright, and asks without words. We nod. Before her hand turns, the figure outside hums the lullaby's last line, the one no one sings unless they were there when it put a child to sleep. The note lands and stays. We breathe in. We haven't answered yet. We stand there with the past pressed up against the wood. The bell's echo fades and the house seems to wait with us, walls leaning in. Lena keeps the melody on her breath, a thread that won't snap. On the other side, the hum answers again, patient and true. Here's the thing. We came for boxes and ended with a door between two kinds of life. Open it, and names spill out, along with the cost of holding them. Leave it closed, and the trust sits like a full well with a locked lid, water we won't drink because it isn't ours to pour. Ava squeezes Milo's sleeve. "You hear that note?" she whispers. He nods, eyes on the knob. Raj shifts the quarter in his pocket and lets it rest, a promise we won't let chance decide what people live with. The envelope marked "Trust" waits on the table, still sealed, a neat rectangle of relief. The custody document lies beside it, names blacked out like teeth missing in a smile. "Ask the one who hummed," the margin said. The one who hummed hums again. Lena lifts the latch halfway, stops, and looks back at us. "Do we open?" Her voice is steady, softer than fear. Ava's eyes flick to the ledger, to the bands, to the clock that has counted every delay. Milo murmurs, "I want to know where I come from and still keep where I am." Raj says, "We choose what we can live with, not what we can explain." The hum outside shifts into the lullaby's last line, the one that used to close the night without words. Lena rests her forehead on the door for a beat, then steps back. "You tell me," she says. "To you." Do we open the door and meet the person who knows the melody, even if it pulls our story apart? Or do we let the past rest, return what's promised quietly, and keep our peace intact? Stay with me for the full story to come. Drop your choice in the comments, open or let it rest. And if this leaves you humming too, subscribe for the follow up when a hand turns the knob.